Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ramble Reacts. Newcastle sensationally battered PSG. Manchester City also won. It's Wednesday, 4th of October. I'm Marcus Speller.
I'm Nick Moore. And I'm Andy Brassel.
Welcome one and all to Ramble Reacts. We are still up in Newcastle. And right now, look more, everybody is up in Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some sore heads tomorrow morning based on the walk back from the stadium. It was an incredible atmosphere, an incredible game, and just really from 4, 5, 6 hours, possibly even a day before the game itself, the atmosphere has been sensational up here, and I don't expect it to diminish at any time soon. It was incredible to me. Andy, you're much more familiar with this part of the world. It was incredible to me what it felt like in the city centre, because of course St James's Park is right in the thick of it.
It's an incredible stadium where it is.
It's a great spot,
on the hill and all that.
And it just felt like it felt like a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It felt like a Saturday night in July. Out there, and it's a Wednesday evening, and there's queues outside the bars, and it was mad. There's people everywhere, all the Newcastle shops.
After
basically.
we finish this pod, we have loads of options, Andy.
Yeah,
and you bloody hell.
Yeah,
If Thursday's the new Friday, Wednesday's the new Christmas Day, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on. But I mean, Andy, this has to go down as one of the greatest nights or one of the greatest games in their modern history. I mean, on the bonus pod we did the other day, we were harking back to the days of Tino Asprilla scoring a hat-trick against Barcelona and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was something else.
Yeah, this was completely a different level. It was extraordinary because PSG, whatever you think of them, are contenders for the Champions League, and Newcastle put them away. They managed the game absolutely superbly.
That was so impressive,
especially in the second half when they came under pressure and they could have buckled. They were physically creaking, and they haven't got a deep bench. You look at the options available to PSG, and despite Luis Enrique's attempts to put them all on the pitch at the same bloody time, it's not quite possible.
Admire him for going for a front four when they're 3-0 down and all that kind of stuff.
He still thinks it's 1997.
He's
been on the phone to Tino, I think. But the way they dealt with all of it, we talked about the emotional control of the occasion, which they were quite close to losing a couple of times, particularly Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Gordon, but they just about kept it in. And you talked about the atmosphere around the stadium, which is what makes it so special. The fact that you've got all those pubs on the doorstep. The amazing thing was, as I was saying on that extra episode with TNT, the fact is normally you don't get the atmosphere until right at the moment of kickoff, where the man goes, "Enjoy the game," and then you hear that, and it happens. But there, the best thing they did actually is cut the music about 10 minutes before the kickoff, and all of a sudden you could breathe all of it. You could get the energy, and there was this brilliant bit actually, probably about 20 minutes before kickoff, where you had at the Leazes end, you had all of the PSG players queuing up to take shots, and when Mbappe put one in, you got boom.
Yeah, they were just
then when Hakimi put one over the top, it was like, hey, which was amazing. It's something you never normally get in a warm up, but they wanted to show, the crowd wanted to show them. You're in a game before it even started.
I mean, it was proper 12th man stuff.
Absolutely,
absolute epitome of 12th man stuff, and it was almost panto at the same time. You sort of mentioned it there, the way that every kind of 50-50 tackle or recovery tackle was celebrated. It wasn't cheered, it was celebrated.
It was by the players
but
as
the
well.
players as well. There was fist pumping going on. They were trying to G it all up. I mean,
a couple of minutes in, my ears were ringing.
Yeah,
and
mine's still on.
It was a throw-in. They were a throw-in, and that's the thing. So you talked earlier about how the game kind of started, and to me, it felt like neither team were really in control of the game. It was almost, the game itself was almost like an untamable beast, and both teams were trying to ride it, and Newcastle were able to, through a massive amount of support from the crowd, from starting on the front foot really early, really hassling PSG. Marcus, you were saying to me, I'm not sure how long they can keep this up for, kind of
Well,
thing. Someone like Almiron, for example.
Yeah, I was a bit concerned because you don't want to kind of... You've got to manage that second half, and as you said, they did. But the fact is, PSG didn't really have anything. Partially because, well, did they fancy? But also partially because the way Newcastle was so
Newcastle, good. The thing that really surprised me as someone, it's the first time I've seen PSG in person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch him anywhere near as much as Andy, probably not even as much as you, Marcus. And
you probably won't watch him again after tonight, will you?
Here's the thing, though. I couldn't believe how physically inferior they were. I could not believe how you can go into the... By the way, talking about them being one of the favourites of the competition, I just checked before we came on air after the show, after the game. They're not now.
No, I bet they're not.
They've flown out now. They're about 7th favourite now because of that. I couldn't believe this PSG project and how much attention it's got and how much money it's got and how big a brand it is now. And they didn't seem to have a player that could physically impose themselves on the game. And it's all very well if you're a Dembele or a Mbappe or an attacking fullback or whatever who's got it in your locker to be athletic, to be skillful, to beat a player, to make something happen. If you can't physically impose yourself on the game, what happened last night or tonight as we're recording will happen. And I thought that was really... I don't want to get all Graham Souness about it, but it was really men against boys stuff. I mean, there was no real fight. Even a player like Milan Skriniar, who I think of as being a...
Old man with a bad back?
Yeah, but he's tough, though. But he's old man hard. Yeah. He's the kind of guy,
And that's from a man from Portsmouth.
If you misbehave in his living room, he's taking you out the back and he's going to give you a fucking whooping, right? Yeah. He's that tough. And no one could really do it. And I felt like Newcastle played it so well because they could have easily gone too far. Yeah. Could have got a man sent off. Could have gone into a tackle too hard. Yeah. Could have.
They towed that line
they trod that fine line very, very well.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe went on about the emotions, didn't he? He went on about how we've got to control it because he knew what was going to happen. He knew the crowd were going to be absolutely pumping.
Do you reckon Bruno had an ice bath at half time?
I don't. Whatever he did, he should do it every week.
He is so popular.
He was really lucky near the end of the first half. Really, really lucky.
He was, but he was
took
also
that little swing at Ugarte.
Well, it's true, but he was immense. But it's funny. Look, when you're saying about the physicality of PSG and all that kind of stuff. When we did our predictions, of course, the other day. And by the way, everybody, if you're listening, we are recording it in a room, and there are Newcastle fans. We're surrounded.
You can't get away from it.
So if you can hear a bit of a murmur and whatnot, and a sing song, whatever, that's what that is. But when we did our predictions, Andy, you fancied PSG. I fancied a draw. I think Jules fancied a draw, didn't she? You were the only one. You said 3-1. You're very close to getting it spot on.
Yeah.
But you
before
definitely...
Fabian Schär ruined it for you.
I love Fabian Schär.
Yeah, but without a doubt, you won the argument.
I did. I'm Jeremy Corbyn here. You're Theresa May.
I'm in power.
Yeah.
For a bit.
I think the listeners.
I went for an away win. I'm Liz Truss.
Yeah. But the reason.
But you obviously. Why was that? Why did you think they would win 3-1?
I'll give you a little insight into the background of what it's like being me on this show.
Yeah.
So when I predict,
on a Ramble Reacts, I'm in the brass balls.
when I get
seconds or minutes gone left St James's Park, and we're talking
people
about
think they're getting
on.
wide Sargasso Sea. They're getting fucking Ulysses.
Yeah. Well, when I predict something and it goes wrong, my mentions blow up of everyone calling me a prick, right?
Yeah.
I
love it when that happens.
When I predict something and it goes right, I get my mentions full of everyone calling me a smug prick. It doesn't really make any difference. Yeah. I can't really take much joy out of it.
There seems to be a theme there.
But to answer the question, and it's really difficult to answer this question with the personality type that I possess and what actually happened, I thought what happened would happen. I thought that they would shrink. I thought that they would find it very, very difficult to PSG. To manage the cauldron they're in, and I think that it's easy to be wise after the event, and I understand that maybe I'm backfilling the narrative a bit here, but Newcastle had something like 25-26% of the ball.
I think was it 30 at the end?
Well, they said that at the stadium, but Opta reporting at 26%.
Okay,
so it's around that kind of number. Yeah. They're just ruthlessly efficient with it.
They got 4/5 of the goal.
It's like Bayern doing Barcelona back in 2013, really, isn't it?
It is a bit like that, and I just felt like PSG won. I think there would be a chance. Having said that, though, if I'm being completely even-handed, the early chance that Ousmane Dembele gets, where he strikes it really well, just goes wide of the far post. If that goes in, you pop the balloon. potentially,
I'm not sure
and it could have gone another way. So I don't think you can. No one can predict the future.
Yeah.
I just think it went the way I suspected it may do, but it could have easily gone a different way.
I think the crowd would have been. You remember when Manchester United had those great nights in Europe, and when they would concede a goal, the Manchester United fans got louder. And I think it's what Newcastle fans did when it went 3-1. Obviously, easy to do when they were 3-1 and sort of fairly coasting, really, if we're going to be honest. But anyway, look,
it probably didn't feel like that the moment it went into Newcastle fans.
Sure. But the fact is, he didn't score, and the game panned out the way it did. It was interesting to see Kylian Mbappe at times was strolling around. He looked pretty pissed off from where I was sitting.
He looks what he is, which is unfit. I mean,
right.
They took away 3 weeks of his pre-season from him by trying to bully him into signing a new contract or going. Yeah. And they're paying for that now. And Luis Enrique is in a situation, as I wrote about in my Guardian piece that I just finished, where he's got a balance between trying to get him fit and trying to make sure he doesn't get injured, which is really tricky to do in the biggest games. But honestly, I half agreed with Luke when he was talking about how that sort of tidal wave of Newcastle-ness would like really push PSG back. I thought that would be the beginning to the game. I also thought they would be smart enough to react to it. And they really weren't.
It was disappointing from their point of view.
But I think this squarely stands at the feet of Luis Enrique, which is remarkable, really.
He's not been there that long, has he?
You think, pardon?
He's not been there that long, has he?
No, but he set the team up in exactly the same way that he set the team up at Clermont on Friday night. There's a big bloody difference to playing Clermont on a Friday night.
That was a disappointing 0-0.
In which they didn't score, by the way, despite playing with 4 up front.
Yeah.
Also, they played 4-2-4 tonight.
They did.
They allowed Newcastle to swarm all over them. You see that first half, you hook one of the forwards, 3 of which have done absolutely nothing, by the way, and you put an extra midfielder.
How did he not see this? The guy's won the treble. I know Barcelona and so on, but Luis Enrique's managed at top level.
Also,
how can he not react to this?
Also, who were the two? Who were the two in there for PSG?
Ugarte and Zaire Emery.
One's 22, never really played in the Champions League much.
The other's 17.
17 years old.
Yeah.
But
they're
the
both
thing
Sunderland
in that
fans.
atmosphere.
The thing was, he's seen what works. I was at that first game against Dortmund in Paris. They played with 3, with Vitinha in there as well. They gave him the runaround. And they
He brought
never...
Vitinha on, but
Yeah, but like for another midfielder. It didn't change the shape. And when he brought Barcola on, and I thought Barcola was pretty good, actually, when he came on. He's a really promising player. All it did was push Mbappe into the middle, where you get even less of a tune out of him.
But do you think though that there's maybe a bit of arrogance or complacency from Luis Enrique and PSG? They kind of think, who are these guys? Do you know what I mean? Okay, fine. In the Premier League, you're doing okay, and you've got 1 or 2 good players, Guimaraes and so on. But look at some of the names in there. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. I'm asking you. Do you think that's what it was?
I don't think that.
So what explains? How does that explain his actions? Then he didn't do a damn thing.
It's a really good question, because he talked about it beforehand. He said he was jealous of his players going to play in a place like this, because of course he'd played there with Barcelona in that Asprilla game that you were talking about, like 25 years ago, 26 years ago.
Scored, I think, in that game.
Yeah, and you just think, I know he's getting to know his team a little bit. I mean, the fact is, as we said, they are post Messi, they're post Neymar, neither of which would have improved that tonight. By the way, they would have been forward players not getting the ball and standing about and offering absolutely nothing defensively. But I have some sympathy, because he's trying to find a balance, because it's not his fault that Mbappe wasn't involved and was left at home for the tour of Japan and all that stuff, because the club forbade him to pick him. And now he's having had this truncated pre-season. It's all got to work like now. Whereas what Newcastle have been doing, Eddie Howe has put in place very carefully over a period of 2 years. And the thing is, what they did, in terms of, they didn't go and buy 10 players a window or anything like that. They've gradually added quality players to what they've got. And as we said in the build-up to this, what Eddie Howe has done, and really like a little bit like David Moyes in his second spell at West Ham, particularly the first bit of his second spell at West Ham, what Howe has done so impressively is to get more out of those existing players, a lot of whom, let's be honest, we sort of thought were borderline good enough for the Premier League. You look at Jamal Lascelles tonight.
Well, absolutely.
Hasn't played for
Deserves a
ages.
mention, yeah.
I think the key bit in the second half, when PSG are really trying to get back into it, and he absolutely coats Mbappe off in the centre circle.
It was incredible, and I think that shows
amazing.
You, and by the way, he's given Eddie Howe a lot of credit there. Is old Andy? How much credit do we give to Jason Tindall, Luke Moore?
Yeah,
if you'd have got the prediction spot on, then Tindall would have been the second smuggest man in Newcastle.
Maybe I could. Maybe I
Now
could
there's
have
a podcast. Contenders.
Yeah. Maybe I could have. Maybe I could have scarves, Newcastle scarves with my face on it.
We
like
saw that,
Tyndall's
didn't we?
got.
It's wonderful, the cult of Tindall. But go back to the game.
If it's me and Tyndall on a podcast,
Yeah.
we're just covered in spunk.
Oh dear. Do you know what, Andy? This is how my brain works nowadays. Working with him, I was honestly immediately. Who spunk?
We're both covered in our own.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. That's well. Okay. Yeah. But what I wanted to say, Andy highlighted Jamal Lascelles there, who slotted in for the injured Sven Botman. That shows you
Physicality.
Well, the physicality, but that shows you everyone's on the same page. Everyone's moving in the same direction at the same pace.
Yeah.
That, as you say, Andy, your player hasn't played that much, who's maybe had a few criticisms in the past, blah, 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 blah. He comes in against PSG and it looks seamless.
And the goal scorers for Newcastle were a combination, weren't they? Almiron, who's been around for a while, Longstaff, who's homegrown, been around for a while, Dan Burn, who's come back in as part of the project, Scher's kind of on the border, I suppose, and came around at the time he came along. To me, it was just, I can't get away from the fact that it's just lunch money all over the pitch.
Yeah.
You're getting your lunch money taken.
Yeah.
You're getting lunch money.
Yeah.
And what PSG ended up doing, what I found really interesting, I thought you were going to mention it, but you didn't.
They shrunk.
It's just that you talk about Enrique and the way he wanted to go about it. Clearly, it seemed to me from where I was sitting in the stand, and I haven't watched it back, so it's just from where I was, he had told them to attack down the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Use Dembele, attack. He obviously thought Burn wasn't as good as Trippier defensively.
That's
wasn't
fair.
as mobile,
Yeah.
and attack down there. When that became clear it wasn't working, when that became clear that Mbappe, for whatever situation he's in, he's still one of the world's best players, was on the other flank and just not involved, nothing really changed.
And that is
Even though Enrique was screaming from the touchline the whole game, really. He's running on the pitch at one point when they were setting up a free kick.
To be fair, they're not going to hear him with that atmosphere.
No, but the fourth had to bring him back off.
Yeah.
And so they never really, it just seemed very, very inflexible. It was almost like, I don't want to read too much into it because we're straight from the game and, bit adrenaline's high
I
and
want to
stuff.
talk more about Newcastle.
Yeah, but they just all seemed shell-shocked.
Yeah,
all of them.
We should say, we're talking about the Newcastle fans. PSG fans were great as well. I mean, they
were.
were bouncing and singing away the whole time,
I like the way they got
Bless
the
them.
flares out when they scored,
Yeah.
covered them when the VAR review came
right.
along,
No,
and they got them out again. Yeah, we're okay. We're away again. Yeah.
I mean,
we respect the process.
Absolutely.
And we're away again.
Yeah. And speaking of which, we did get the process in the stadium. It seemed to last for an absolute eternity.
A couple of times,
obviously Almiron scores 1-0, a lovely finish, great body positioning and so on as he stroked it home. And then Big Dan Burn, was he out jumping Kylian Mbappe at the back? Who was it at the back post that he was out jumping?
I don't know, but it was men against
Someone
boys stuff,
shorter?
Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
it was, you just saw it floated in, and he was just like, "Eat it!"
Yeah. Absolutely.
Big Dan Burn.
Everything goes in the net.
Yeah, and
everything
goes
in the net.
I mean, amazing for him, and it's funny, him and Sean Longstaff, of course, Geordie boys in the team and whatnot among the goals. They both mentioned that they weren't sure if they were still going to be at the club at this point, and they mentioned the takeover, and it's funny, isn't it? Because the takeover, we've criticised the people who took over. And that criticism stands, by the way. This is not a case of, suddenly the human rights issues in Saudi Arabia, bollocks.
No.
And
I think
it's not,
So my point on that would just be
Yeah.
that, we have to be careful about this kind of thing because this kind of night is exactly the kind of thing that enables an acceleration of the sports washing that's going on, right? That needs to be said. However, there's two points I might make in addition to that. One is that, we have a responsibility as a show to cover the football, and cover the game. So we have to do that. So that's what we're doing.
Well, yeah, so
And
that's
the
what
second point
happened.
is, at no point, I don't feel, is this anything to do with the fans? No. I mean, the fans could. I mean, there are fan groups, aren't there, that are protesting against this ownership and who aren't happy with it and stuff like that. But I don't think it's necessarily always the answer. Just lay it at the fans' door to be the bulwark against this kind of thing all the time.
agreed.
And if you spend time in the city, they're passionate about the football club. Not just over the last year and a half, they've been passionate for years and years.
But
nothing's changed really on
it was
that
so
front.
miserable as well under Mike
It was.
Ashley.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like a club that was so totally disconnected from its community, that actively didn't want to win, but actively didn't want to engage with the people of the city. When you look at the proximity of which the stadium is a symbol, that's something that's extremely hurtful. Now, of course, this is something really serious we're talking about, the ownership of the club. But I think sometimes what's not absorbed outside the city is the people who aren't actively protesting outside the stadium, and that is a very small number, as we saw outside those Saudi Arabia international games. That doesn't mean everyone else is glorifying the ownership. And there is a difference.
Yeah, there is.
And also, when sometimes
the thing is, sorry, I was just going to say, the thing is, a lot of times, what you see on television, like the sort of the cameras sort of gravitate towards the most extreme people, don't
definitely.
they?
Mm-hmm. But I also want to say that my position, and I believe the Ramble's position, but I'll just speak on behalf of myself, is that I don't agree with the Saudi ownership of Newcastle, and I don't think they should be in the Premier League doing what they're doing. That's my position, right? Everyone's got their own opinion. But sometimes when I see the criticism that even we get for not calling it out enough, which I think is mental, because we call it out all the time compared to everyone else, right? What you have to understand, I'm just talking to people listening to this, if you have a problem with it, what you have to understand is that we're making an entertainment show here about football. We can't start every show and finish every show talking about annoying VAR decisions, the problem of ownership in football, which is nothing to do with us. We're being asked to make an entertainment show about football under the parameters that the authorities of the game have allowed to happen. So we'll call it out whenever it's relevant to do so, and I'm happy to call it out now. But all these things have to coexist because we're making an entertainment show about football, and our responsibility is to entertain people.
Well, indeed, and also, like you just said there, is you talk about what is happening, and what is happening is this takeover has provided an enormous shot in the arm for Newcastle United. It's provided the city with a football team who are far better, far more entertaining, with different personnel. And that's it. That is what's going on.
But you know what? It's actually a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about really the creep of the Mike Ashley ownership, people think, especially from the outside, they think that all football fans want is better players to make their team better. But actually, the neglect of the team under Ashley was just a symptom of what it was with the club in general. So the fact that they didn't engage with the community, the fact that, you look at how sports washing works, of course, is stuff you do like actually make an effort to connect with supporters groups, to communicate, to put money in the women's team and make them better, to get them in St James's Park and playing. All of those things that they have done are just as important as the players they've bought.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, those things within themselves are good things.
Yes.
Look at some of the stuff that, with the Man City Academy and all the rest of it. You kind of go...
But that's how they get you.
Of course it is.
Of course.
Yeah, but as I'm saying, those things within themselves...
And from our point of view, if we go big on how great a game it was tonight and how... good Newcastle were and all the rest of it, we get fucking stick. And if we criticise Newcastle, it seems petty because it's like Newcastle fans will be like, "Hang on a minute, just talk about the game." So I'm not trying to get any sympathy. I'm just saying we're in the situation we're in.
That is the situation, which we're all in because we're all fans of the Premier League.
Yeah,
absolutely. Indeed. If you look at the Newcastle team, that midfield, Bruno Guimaraes in there, Sandro Tonali and Sean Longstaff.
Who wasn't fully fit, by the way, Tonali.
No, and he played. Did he play 65 minutes? Like that. But put in a bloody good shift.
Yeah.
That's well balanced midfield. How critical have we been of Manchester United this season with the balance in midfield? You look at that. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes was an absolute monster in the centre of the pitch.
He was, and I suppose he had to be even more so than normal because there's no Joelinton there, who is the most athletic of any of their midfield players. So having him not in there made a massive difference.
And they had other players missing. Barnes was missing. He's an exciting young player.
Couldn't bring Wilson on.
Callum Wilson's missing. Botman's missing.
Well, that's the thing. When Isak goes down, you think they haven't actually got a striker on the bench to replace him with.
I actually thought Isak was probably the poorest Newcastle player.
But he still put the shift in.
He was he did, and off the ball and defensively he was good. He did some really good work in his own penalty area, and he was really good off the ball, and he was game. I think he was a bit over the top, though. I think when I said earlier, on another night, maybe someone goes a bit too far and gets sent off and the whole thing's ruined. If that was going to happen, it would have been Isak.
Yeah. Anthony Gordon's taken to life at Newcastle United, it's fair to say. And there were times when he was geeing up the crowd. He was absolutely loving it.
He's really benefited from having that half season.
Yes.
Where it was nice to have him, but he wasn't necessarily required.
Absolutely
That's
right.
allowed him to get to the pace. And now he's had a full pre-season. He's just whoosh.
Yeah,
but the way Newcastle, they kind of, the defensive work they did as a unit.
And he was a huge part of that, by the way.
Absolutely
when we're
was.
talking about protecting Burn from being doubled up on by Dembele and Ashraf Hakimi. And Hakimi, by the way, did nothing in an attacking sense.
Such an attacking
He
player.
was anonymous.
He's absolutely shackled. I mean,
it's an amazing job they did.
It was an amazing job.
It's a really damning indictment of Hakimi's performance that they lost 4-1. No one wants to be on the end of that. Dan Burn and Fabian Schär, who's a left centre back, both scored. And I couldn't honestly tell you a single thing.
I forgot he was there.
Yeah. I did write actually about the moment where Dan Burn scored. I think Dembele was probably just happy that he had 5 minutes off from Dan Burn being in his shirt, basically. So he was just wrestling him the whole time, wasn't he?
I mean, and can we also spare a moment for those who may not have picked up on it watching it on telly? How many of Nick Pope's goal kicks went into the stand? You know what? Here's a thing. I've said in the past on this show, can Pope have a little go at England, because he's brilliant as a goalkeeper. He's got so much going for him. And you and I have discussed it, Marcus, I think more than anyone else, about you say, but you can't really use his feet. And I was thinking, he's not that bad with his feet. He is that bad.
What do you think? Yeah,
he is definitely.
I mean,
that
their
bad.
tactic is obviously they
He's just texted you at the moment, going, Andre Onana.
Oh, he'd have texted someone else. He would have texted me. I'll tell you.
I mean, obviously the tactic is to push Dan Burn way up the pitch for those goal kicks.
Yeah.
And he tried to aim for him. I mean, you're not going to get a much bigger target than Dan Burn. Burn at times going, stick it on me, Ed.
I get the tactic. You pop it up to Dan Burn, he flicks it on for Gordon, right? I get it. Dan Burn isn't in row fucking Z.
No.
He's on the pitch.
Yeah.
It honestly,
he was trying to give the match ball to someone in the crowd.
He was trying to
He's
give the
probably
match ball
said
to
to
his
him in
brother
the
or
dressing
something.
room too many times, or when I was a kid in the stands,
Yeah.
I'm not in the stands anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the reason he got booked.
Maybe.
The referee's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. He was,
One more of them, you're in the book.
I've never seen a player so happy to get booked, other than that David Beckham one against Wales when he meant it. When he was just like,
People think I'm not very clever, but I am.
Yeah.
Oh, so you did do it? Yeah.
Yeah, I said another one. Pope got a booking for time wasting. And all. I didn't need to time waste. It was so tepid from PSG. And look, we've been very critical of PSG, rightly so. But part of the reason why they were so poor is, again, Newcastle were superb.
Yeah.
Shame that they'd actually. I mean, not that anyone's going to care, of course, who supports Newcastle. It was a slight shame they conceded, but I mean,
They've also got, they're top of their group now.
Yeah. And how much of a chance have they got to go through?
Very, very good chance. I've been home to Milan, home to Dortmund.
Who drew 0-0 and
a handy result.
They're big names, but they're not brilliant at the moment.
You have
either
said
of
this.
them.
You have said this. I mean, again, the confidence this will give them. St James's Park is such a fortress. You talk about Anfield on those European nights where they know all about.
If you can do that against PSG at St James's Park, you can do that against
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But especially with players back potentially as well.
And there's now the element of expectation of, hang on, here we go, another European night. I mean, there was already that kind of expectation, but it's all there for them.
But now you're not just along for the ride.
Yeah.
There's actually a target, isn't there?
Yeah. Indeed there is. Just a stunning night and incredible to witness it, really. And all the cliches about Newcastle, but great atmosphere and blah, 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 blah. But that's why they're cliches.
And just when I came in to record today, I was just looking on online, and I got a video served up into my timeline. And it was the title of it was Luis Enrique on his style of football and his Champions League hopes. I was thinking that'll be a short video.
That will be.
I might better squeeze that one in on the way down.
Nice, apparently, that he had a little photo with the Sir Bobby Robson statue, though. Played under him at Barcelona.
Yeah, and then disgraced his memory.
Well, no. No, I think he was too respectful. I think maybe.
Yeah.
As it would transpire on the pitch.
Is there any truth in the fact in the rumour that he didn't have a picture with the Alan Shearer statue because he's only had one finger up?
Yeah. It may be, Andy. Maybe.
That's really putting you out this week.
That's underreported, isn't it?
I understand that there is a famous photo of Shearer scoring when he's got one finger up, running away to celebrate. We all remember.
Is that after his first goal for Newcastle against Wimbledon?
Possibly, but the statue of him outside the ground, and it is outside the ground now. Whereas, of course, when Ashley was in charge, it was on the street corner.
Number 9's is called Shearer's again.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It was absolutely banging there while I was walking past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single building, is banging.
And there was office blocks we walked past at 11 at night. You know,
I would know whether that's my room earlier in the hotel. I thought it was a good job not recording there because it sounds like next door having a fucking party as well.
Guilty.
They're only here on business.
Oh dear, but yeah, I mean incredible night for Newcastle.
So you think the Shearer should have his hand up, not his finger up?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm sure Newcastle fans will be in touch and explain why that is the case.
Well, as I say, I think it is based on that famous photo.
I think they'll be very reasonable with that as well.
And no doubt they will be.
Yeah.
No doubt they will be. Elsewhere in the Champions League, Manchester City beat RB Leipzig 3-1 away from home. Good win, Andy, because it's a tough place to go to. They've been there before and won, but it's not a gimme.
I always remember them losing there and Kyle Walker picking up a very needless red card.
Yeah,
which was it's not. Often, it's not often you see
Angelino goal.
Yeah, it's not often.
Who played for Galatasaray last night? Yeah, there's your link.
I love it.
Very good.
It wasn't worth me interrupting. Sorry, carry on.
But it's really rare that you see Pep Guardiola genuinely annoyed. But he was so pissed off with Kyle Walker for that, wasn't he?
But he must have been happier with this one, Andy.
Yeah, because Leipzig have played pretty well this season, despite losing some major players. Obviously, they came back into the game at 1-1 and City still got it done.
City had created a lot of chances. I mean,
and that's the hardest games that you've got on paper in their group.
Yeah,
you'd say so. But I mean,
it
was 3-1. Man City could have scored an absolute hatful there. There was a good shot. I mean, Foden took his goal very, very well. Alvarez scored again, assisted again. There's not too much chat about Alvarez, but he's a player.
I told you, didn't I? I said on the show a while back.
It's funny because he did win the World Cup, by the way. Yeah. He's a player, that lad. You should have a little...
But you're right. The thing is, you're right to say it, and I said it on the show a week or two ago. Erling Haaland is like Jupiter in the solar system. He takes all the news asteroids in, and Alvarez is basically Earth, the most important planet.
It's funny.
I
always thought of Haaland as a black hole, so that's quite enlightening.
Well, it does also work on one level. But if there was a black hole in the solar system, we'd all be dead.
Yeah,
Jupiter works as so. If you think,
eventually Erling Haaland will kill all the football. You do realise that, right?
I'm sticking with this. I'm going to get it out. So you can interrupt all you like, but we're staying in until I'm finished.
Yeah.
The solar system's like an intergalactic bowling alley. Jupiter's massively important because its gravity is so big. It drags all the asteroids, all the comets, all the things, and it could destroy life on Earth. Haaland is doing that for Alvarez now.
Is he scoring turkeys? Who's getting the turkeys in this bowling alley?
No, the answer to that.
Alvarez
could get 30 goals this season, and it will take till about 25 of them before anyone says anything. That's what's going to happen.
I think the thing with Alvarez, in the second half of last season, you saw how Guardiola had another option because he could play him in a 2 with Erling Haaland. And now you're seeing that actually he's such a good player, he can actually replace Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. Is he... So, I mean, how does he play him with Haaland? You know, is it a genuine 2?
He came off the bench tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, but when he comes on and when he did starting games with Haaland, did you feel it's a proper sort of 2 up front? I mean, because with Guardiola, you never know; he could be playing right back at some point.
It was more so last season.
Yeah, but I think
it felt like a combination to run over chumps, where it doesn't feel like that now.
But we were saying the other day that the 2 up front will soon become the hack in football. Because it's secular, isn't it? Tactics and all the rest of it.
I think it's going to take a while for 4 up front to come back.
Well, after PSG,
please note, Lewis.
When I say it's secular, I don't think the WM is going to come back at any point.
When I've seen Alvarez play in the Premier League this season, he's played kind of in the hole behind Haaland.
Yeah, because of De Bruyne not being.
And I tell you what, he only scores good goals. That lad, he really does.
Yeah, it's true.
But I mean, Jeremy Doku, a player who. It's late in the game. You're pushing for an equaliser from RB Leipzig. Do you really want to see him slotted through, outpacing everybody?
No, you definitely don't. But like I've said from the very beginning with Doku, he's a player of immense ability who's shown it on occasion before. Guardiola's obviously going to make him one of the best players in the world. And he's started doing that already, hasn't he?
He has. So yeah, another fairly routine, but still impressive from Manchester City. You know, one can sort of get used to them winning, although they've lost a couple of games, obviously on the bounce before that. But they have started the season very, very well.
Yeah, they've won
they're
both.
a very, very good team.
They've won both the Champions League.
They will do that. Just if we can go, staying with English teams, but going back to domestic matters before we finish with a bit of an international stuff. Have you seen that Jürgen Klopp has said that he wants the Premier League game against Tottenham to be replayed? The quote was, Andy
Russell's not having this, but let him have his time.
Yeah, Andy, I'm just going to say the quotes, all right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say the quotes. This is what Big Jürg said.
Right.
Okay.
And can you let me do a bit on Tony Evans as well?
We
haven't had time to plan this. There's no running order, so I just want to get it in there. So I did a bit about Tony Evans.
He's a nice chap, Tony.
I've got no problem with him.
But I mean, I'll just do the clock. Quote,
go for it, yeah.
Something like this never happened. So that is why I think a replay is the right thing to do. They are the words of Jurgen Klopp. Okay? Andy Brassel.
Those are not the end of Jurgen Klopp's words, though, are they?
Did he finish that by saying, not? Only joking. What did he say that makes you think that he doesn't want a replay? Because that quote there suggests that he bloody well does.
I'm sure he wants a replay, just like he wants to sign Kylian Mbappe and he wants Liverpool to have won all their games this season. It doesn't, to me, feel like he's genuinely pushing for that. I don't think he is. It's a hypothetical.
But you've also said in the past that he's one of the worst losers on the planet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
I don't see how those things are mutually
all right,
exclusive.
Andy,
allow me to read.
Okay.
Allow me to read a Tony Evans tweet. Now, Tony Evans covers Liverpool a lot. He's he's a very experienced journalist. I've got no problem with him. I just think this is funny. Yesterday, Tony Evans tweeted this, and he did one of those tweets where he puts the full stop after every word.
Yeah.
No one ever asked for or wanted a replay. Sigh. What did Klopp say next?
Another Klopp. If that would happen again, I would say replay. Yeah. Or much, much better than replay. Sort it in that moment.
Oi, he's like a fucking drum and bass DJ at this point. Fucking rewind.
So, Andy,
Klopp's the MC.
Now you're talking about language.
So what you're saying is Klopp playing opposites then?
Well, he said, or even better, like sort it out on the pitch at the time, which obviously can't happen because it's already happened.
So
it's
replay
just
then. How are they going to sort it
It's
now?
just a total hypothetical.
DJ, run the rhythm.
Yeah.
Back in there. It's a rewind. He wants a rewind.
Rewind.
I think personally, I honestly think, like joking aside, it's a good crack and all the rest of it, but joking aside, if I can very, very briefly, I think that every team should get the opportunity to rerun a game 10 times a season until they get a result they want.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
FIFA wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, I don't think they would.
What about those of us who every time the board comes up and it says 9 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever, think, God, life's too short.
They're making that up.
Well, look, I want to.
Do you know what I'm? Sorry, Mark. You know what I'm making that up? I think I'm right in saying in that same Spurs Liverpool game, right? 6 minutes. Where's that come from? Was it in the Fulham game? Was 13?
I don't know if it was 13.
What was it? It was a game I watched last weekend.
7 maybe.
Last weekend there was a game which is a perfectly normal Commonwealth Garden Premier League game, 13 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They don't know what they're doing.
No.
It is weird how we're like normally drawing offside lines that are accurate to the centimetre. Certainly in Portugal, they give you the actual centimetre.
Metric system, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Give me in feet and inches, Andy.
Yeah. Are we getting Brexit done or what? You fucking centimetres.
I can just imagine you coming out with your little wheel on a wooden.
How many leagues was it offside? That's
that's right.
How many fathoms?
Exactly.
How many ounces, Andy, offside?
Are we going back to a medieval bartering system or not, Andy?
Look, how many shillings would you pay for a replay? Is what I'm asking. Anyway, enough of that old bollocks, Andy. There was a tweet earlier. Someone said, at FA, hello, just wondering if we can replay this game. And it was Liverpool versus Everton. And there's a still they put of Dirk Kuyt going in like both feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Onto,
I remember that.
Onto old Fizzer.
Yeah,
and he
it's Phil
said
Neville,
he
yeah.
should have been sent off. He went on to score goals. Liverpool 1-2-1, and he's put Fizzer in there. Said, "Get your boots back out, lad." And Fizzer has said, "I agree. I'll get my boots ready for the replay." Fizzer's taking
He's getting
the piss.
involved. He's getting
Fizzer
involved.
is taking the piss, Andy.
Yeah.
You are on the wrong side of history, my friend.
Again.
Yeah.
I'd rather be on the side of history that did an amusing tweet going, "Oh yeah, this is a game that my team didn't win, and there was a controversial decision in like 10 years
I
ago."
had to tweet earlier, thanks to all the football fans who've tweeted me directly about the time their team was not awarded a goal, penalty, or point. 15, any point in the last 15 years.
How many people you muted today?
I think.
He normally mutes about a dozen a day.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it might be 12 today. I think it might be 12.
And business as usual.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
I've muted. I can look
Go
at
on.
my Twitter profile. You can see. I've
muted me.
I'm not following you.
Okay.
I've muted. I've muted over 1,000 people.
Right.
Yeah.
1,000
So if you're tweeting
people.
me shit, you're probably tweeting into the void.
Yeah. Why are they tweeting this shit? I've not muted 1,000 people.
Yeah.
But there we
Apparently,
are.
I'm a smug prick.
Well, maybe. International football. I did promise a bit of international football chat. We mentioned Euro 2028, of course, on the Ramble yesterday, where the UK and Ireland looked pretty good for that bid. Well, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco look pretty good for the 2030 World Cup.
Some might say 3 hosts in a single World Cup is enough.
I think double your money, Andy, because FIFA, with all their infinite wisdom, have said, yeah, that's great. Spain, Portugal, Morocco, they're in the same vicinity. You know, as they go, you think about the World Cup that will come before that. You know, Mexico, America, and Canada. I think we'll all be pleased with with Portugal, Spain, and Morocco, which will seem quite quaint and small compared to what's going on there. But FIFA has said no, that's not enough. We love the old centenary idea of the South American, the relevant South American nations getting involved. Of course, it was hosted in Uruguay, the first World Cup. So they're going to give Uruguay a game, and Argentina and Paraguay.
At home.
Paraguay have done well out of that, haven't they?
Yeah.
So
FIFA, like,
Bagsy not playing a game there before you then have to ship off.
I presume those 3 teams also qualify automatically.
They do. So you're going to have 6 qualifying automatically.
And so for the
I mean, Uruguay and Argentina, you can argue with gimmies.
FIFA would.
Venezuela are going, can we have a game?
FIFA have turned to Oprah.
Have they?
You get a game.
Yeah.
You get a game.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a game.
Yeah, I was a bit. To be honest with you.
Can I just say, I know FIFA equals tone deaf, but
I know what you're going to say, Andy. Why isn't Gibraltar getting a game?
yeah, exactly. I've looked at the last couple of tournaments, and especially I think with now I know this isn't FIFA, this is UEFA, but you look at the last Euros, you look at the last couple of World Cups, and the distance before Qatar and the distances between the stadiums, the fact that the groups aren't localized anymore, and you think, how can we look at this in a world that's trying to be more ecologically responsible? As something even
FIFA's radar.
as something even no, but it should be.
But I don't think
I don't
know if any of those
should be.
executive committee members would even know there's a climate crisis. They wouldn't even know. You talk to them about climate change, it'd be the first time they've heard it. This is a different world. This is a rarefied atmosphere. This is properly like swan's blood and monkey embryo stuff. It is like definite weird shit happening. I just think it's sometimes when we run a little audio production company, and when new people start, young people, I always say to them, please be encouraged to bring your ideas. No one's got the monopoly on shit ideas. We want to hear about it. Don't be embarrassed.
One's got the monopoly on shit ideas.
Yeah.
Fucking out, FIFA have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to update it because FIFA have.
Yeah.
How do they have such a consistent record in always doing the shittest thing?
It's
some record.
But like
It's
I said,
unreal.
if you're so wedded to this idea of the centenary thing, and it needs to be in the part of the world where they have games, I understand it would be 99 years rather than 100 years sort of anniversary. Like, give them the Confederations Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you have to do something, I know that goes to the host nation. You don't have to do something. By the way,
Here's one for you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're used to planning World Cup tournaments.
Right.
8, 10, 12 years in advance. Don't invite bids for the centenary one. Maybe just pick up the phone to Uruguay and say, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
It's never going to change. It's always going to be when it's 100 years.
I think, as loath as I am to perhaps defend FIFA on that particular point, I'm quite sure Uruguay and Argentina, there was talk about a joint bid, and they probably couldn't cobble it together.
Do a Live Aid type thing, like back in the 80s. Do a kick-off from the exact spot where the first World Cup kicked off.
Yep.
Live video link all around the world.
Right, and now we go to Madrid for the proper kick-off.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, Andy, why not?
Andy's got no ideas. The problem is Andy just wants to tear everyone else's house down. Don't want to build his own house, does he?
While we're on this theme of replays, I'm all for the replays, obviously.
You want to replay this podcast, do you?
Just not Live Aid. Not Live Aid, fair enough. You want to be Phil Collins, do Concorde? You could do Concorde from Montevideo to Madrid.
There you go.
And you can wear what Phil Collins wore that day. Are you up for it? It looked comfortable.
You are the Phil Collins. You are the
Actually, it
Phil
was the other way
Collins of the
round. I
Ramble.
think he went the other way. Otherwise, it didn't work because of the time difference.
We got the picture.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's not worry about what Phil Collins is doing ever. There we are, everybody. I think we end there. Thank you very much for listening to today's Ramble Reaction. Back tomorrow with the Football Ramble preview show. Of course, do remember to find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Football Ramble. And remember to subscribe on your podcast app. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, FIFA. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.